I have a theory. You see, over time, we've become complacent. I know for me, I've been cranking out the same 15 weekday dinner recipes on rotation for the better half of a year, and I'm bored. And chances are people are bored of your whatever you're making, one pan chicken recipe, blah. But let's change that together with this falafel. That's right, this is the key. This vegetarian air-fried delicious treat is going to change your weekday dinner rotation, and it's going to start today. We begin with dried garbanzo beans, aka chickpeas, and before you ask, no, you cannot use their canned cousin for this recipe. They're too wet and won't form into balls. Now, place 1 pound of dried chickpeas into a bowl and cover with water until the water is 4 inches above the beans. These suckers are going to absorb a lot of water, so make sure you don't skimp on the hydration. Cover the bowl and let sit overnight. The next day, drain your beans and give them a rinse. They should smell pretty bad at this point, but don't worry, that's totally normal. Pour your chickpeas into a blender, hopefully making less of a mess than I did, and blend for about 1 minute until you reach this desired consistency. The final texture should be bigger than sand but smaller than fine gravel. Transfer into a bowl large enough to mix the additional ingredients. These include 3 garlic cloves, half a red onion, 1 jalapeno, stem removed, 1 cup of parsley and 1 cup of cilantro, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And of course, the full recipe is in the description. Blend on high until the mixture is well combined and forms a paste, like so. And yeah, it looks gross, but as my cafeteria lady used to say, you can't judge a paste by its color. Combine your green paste with the chickpeas and fold the ingredients together until well combined. Now, doesn't that look better? At this point, you can add 1 to 2 tablespoons of flour or garbanzo bean flour, but chances are you don't have that lying around. This will help bind everything together. Before placing the mixture into the fridge for 1 hour, I like to get in here with my hands and test the consistency of the mixture. This looks and feels good, so let's start with the tahini sauce. Into a small blender, add 1 clove of garlic, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, half a cup of tahini, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and kosher salt and fresh cracked black pepper to taste. Blend on high for about 1 minute and realize you should have added ice water slowly while blending until the sauce becomes a sauce and not this spackle looking paste. Getting better. Good. Pour the lemon tahini sauce into a mason jar and keep in the fridge for up to 5 days. Now I'm going to quickly show you how to make pita from scratch, which is definitely worth the effort, but if fresh pita isn't your priority, I get it. You can find a variety of half-assed pita bread at your local grocery store. In a stand mixer, add 1 package of instant yeast, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup warm water, about 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, whisk together until a wet slurry is formed. Let sit for 15 minutes and check to make sure the yeast is active. If you see these tiny little bubbles, you're good to go. Next, add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 3/4 teaspoons of salt, 1 3/4 to 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I recommend keeping some of the flour to the side and adding as necessary while the dough comes together. This ensures your dough ends up supple, soft, and sticky, which is what you're gonna want. Mix on low speed. Easy there, Tiger. There you go. Once it gets to this stage, let the stand mixer continue for 5 to 6 minutes. Place the dough into an oiled bowl and cover. Let rise for about 2 hours or until doubled in size. Using a bench scraper, separate the dough into 8 pieces. Form 8 small round loaves and let rise for 30 minutes under a clean kitchen towel. Alright guys, it's been 30 minutes and we are about ready to roll out the dough. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually own a rolling pin, but that's okay, because what I do have is this bottle of rye, and it might be unconventional, but it will definitely work. So anything you have in the house that's round and cylinder shape, go ahead and get to work, start rolling. I admit this did take a minute to get right, but eventually I was able to roll each dough ball out into a round pita about 1/4 inch thick. After letting the flattened dough rest for 5 minutes, it's time to bake. With a cast iron skillet on medium-high heat, add the pita and flip every 2 to 3 minutes until golden brown on each side. You know you've done it correctly if the pita starts to puff up in the center like this, but don't get discouraged if it doesn't, it'll still be just fine. Now back to the falafel. So What we want to talk about now is consistency. You want to make sure that you could form these balls relatively easily with your hands, and if it's too wet, you can add flour, and if it's too dry, you can add a little bit of olive oil and try to get the correct consistency. Shape the falafel mixture with your hands being delicate yet assertive. Think of it like a meatball with the structural integrity of an eggshell. I found the ideal size for these to be slightly larger than a golf ball. This will allow the interior to be soft and cook through with a crunchy brown exterior. Preheat your air fryer to 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes. Using the cooking spray of your choice, spray both the falafel balls and the inside of the air fryer. Carefully place your balls in the air fryer and cook at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 to 8 minutes and flip and cook for another 5 to 8 minutes. I set the first batch for 12 minutes, stopping halfway through to flip. To my surprise, these things smell good enough to make my cat beg for a taste. These can be dressed up and served in many different ways, but here are the two I went with. First, as a sandwich using the freshly made falafel. First, add hummus, lettuce, your falafel. See, I wasn't lying about my cat wanting to join in. Next goes the tomato, cucumber, and onion, followed by the lemon tahini sauce. Now I know I've said this before, but the fresh pita bread brings this into a realm of excellence. It's so much better than the store-bought stuff. The next day, I served up the falafel on top of a spread of hummus, covered them with some lemon tahini sauce, and lastly garnished with parsley. Let's dive in with the taste test. Guys, this recipe is by far my favorite air fryer recipe, at least my favorite vegetarian air fryer recipe to date. So if you were looking for a recipe to change up your weekly rotation on the dinner menu, look no further. Give falafels a try. As always, keep busy, stay healthy, be happy, and I will see you in the next one.